Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
Hello, everyone. This is Katie and with Ace, and we are bringing in today's episode with limiting beliefs.
Yay! I want to have children going yay with me in the background.
Adding soundtrack. Yay! Ah! Okay. The reason that I wanted to bring up limiting beliefs is because I don't know if you've ever had one of my friends calls it a shower moment. It's that moment when you're in a shower and all of a sudden this big aha hits you. It's like having an epiphany.
Every shower.
You're very lucky if it's every shower. Mine normally don't come when I'm in the shower, but that's a side note. Mine just happen randomly. I get completely random epiphanies. And normally it's in the middle of doing something, which completely disrupts the process of whatever it is that I'm doing. I could be in the middle of writing and all of a sudden this random thought will pop up and light bulb will go off and it completely cuts off my flow for what I'm writing. Or in the case of earlier this week, I was in the middle of doing a presentation and all of a sudden this aha light bulb went off and I started crying. Like crying so bad I had to mute the microphone and turn off the camera and sob my eyes out.
Yeah, those are those moments that are actually incredibly important to have.
And it was like, part of me felt absolutely horrible that I let down everyone else in this presentation. Thankfully, they just said, I heard them say, we're going to give Katie some time to take care of herself and we're going to continue on. And they completed the presentation without me. There was one or two messages in the chat that, private messages that came in that said, Katie, just take care of you. We got this. Don't worry. But I was shaken to the core so hard that my entire foundation, which thankfully was all based on limiting beliefs, crumbled to dust.
Our moment. Yeah.
This is a gut check punch, catch your breath, can't talk, the hiccuping, sobbing. Oh my God, it was such a mess. So needless to say, I never came back on camera for that briefing. And for that entire hour, I made it maybe 10 minutes before I started crying. So for the rest of that time, I was just sobbing. After the briefing was over, I went into what I call the family Zoom room, which is where my mom was and a couple of our friends who always gather after these briefings to talk about what it is that we learned. Thankfully, my mom was the only one there. She asked me if I was okay. And I'm like, why are you asking me that when you could see that I'm like sobbing my eyeballs out? You know I am not okay. Yeah, she wasn't too thrilled with that, but that's beside the point.
That's mom-daughter relations.
That's mom-daughter relations right there. Moms always ask, are you okay? Even when they can tell that you're not okay. But she asked me what it was that tripped me up. And I told her about the aha moment I had because the briefing that I was doing, the content that I was talking about the givers in our lives, people who bring us wisdom, wealth, and wellness, and people who are takers in our lives, who bring defeatism and destruction, and something else that starts with a D that I don't remember off the top of my head. And how this community of givers is teaching discernment. So then that way we can safely distance ourselves from these takers. And the aha that hit me so hard is, holy crap, I now have the knowledge to recognize these takers in my life, which means I can now distance myself from them I might still love them as an individual, but I don't love their deeds. And I don't have to love their deeds. I can just be, okay, wish you well, goodbye. And just clean slate, clean cut, be gone.
Great.
And even though I had heard of this over the last 3 months, and even though I had said it a few times, it never really clicked until I was doing this presentation.
Okay.
The funny thing is that my mom asked me what else I was upset about besides that big aha moment. And the first thing that spouted out of my mouth was, I am a better actress than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I realized that there have been major sections of my life ever since I was little where I had to put on a mask to hide my emotions, to hide what it is I was dealing with. So then that way I could be there to support somebody else. Or I could be who they needed me to be instead of being myself.
Yes, that is actually a very big and beautiful realization.
And so, yeah, so I'm still like going, ooh, trying to figure it all out. But I realized that as much as it hurts, as much as it's still, I can still feel it in my gut. I can still feel it choking up my throat right now while we're talking about it, or while I'm talking about it. I know that I now have the opportunity to rebuild my foundation with the knowledge that I have now, with the help of you, with the help of Givers University, with the help of all of the self-healing I've been doing over the past couple of years, to where I will have a much stronger foundation.
Beautiful.
Than what I had before. So yeah, these aha moments that we have in our lives where it feels like everything we believed in is gone.
Those are wonderful. Well, they're not wonderful moments if you don't have them often.
If you've never had one before, it is scary as all get out.
It's so bad. I remember my first one was a panic attack.
Yes, that's almost what it felt like. I mean, I've had some types of panic attacks before, but yes, that's almost what it felt like. It felt like I was a fraud.
Yeah, those are the moments where you're like, oh my gosh, what I thought was real wasn't real. What was I doing? Oh, I was doing this. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, oh my God, there was a part of me that contributed to this negative energy, this negative field, this negative personality, this negative thought, this negative trait, this whatever it is. It's like, oh my God, that's not me. How did I get pulled so out of alignment? Because I didn't have the training I have now. I didn't have the structure of my beliefs, my core belief values.
Sometimes we're, as much as like, look, don't get me wrong, you are strong as a human no matter what. Everyone here, if you're listening, you are strong as a human no matter what. But sometimes the challenges that we're about to face, we're not ready for because we haven't built the strength for it yet. And that's okay.
Everyone has the capability of being an Olympic runner, but you have to train for it.
Yeah.
You have to be dedicated to it. Yeah. You can't just, I mean, granted, there are some people who are incredibly gifted that could just take off and be gone. But for the average person, we have to work for what we want and where we are, and to hold our own space.
Yeah. And actually be consistent with your accumulation of all the things that you're building. I love that you talked about this moment where you're like, limiting beliefs are gone. They went up in flames.
It felt like Okay, the earthquake of like 1901 that demolished San Francisco.
Yeah.
That was the extent of literally, it felt like that I did not have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. And so today was interesting because I had gotten an email from the person who was hosting the event on Wednesday. And it said, just checking in on you, just let you know, you are exceptional at what you do.
It's very sweet.
You have nothing to worry about. You are going to rock it. And by the way, you're presenting next week.
What we call love.
That's what we call love right there. That's a lot of, you're doing great, you know, nothing to worry about. We still love you. And yeah, you're still presenting. Here's the bush.
That's true. Like, that's real love to me, actually.
And at first I was like, oh my God, what the heck? And then I was like, you know what? When you fall off a bicycle, you got to get back on it. Otherwise, you don't have that skill. So for me to complete my training to be the go-to person in my area, if somebody has questions, I need to finish the training. I need to present these briefings. I need to know the content. And it's just, I'm okay with that now.
Good. Yeah, that's amazing.
Before it was like, just, you know, part of me felt like I was just kind of going through the motions. And I realized that was because of the limiting belief. But that's all gone now. So now it's just like, oh, I don't have that negative echo in the back of my brain right now.
Good. Yeah, it's actually interesting because those limiting beliefs is what causes the resistance to complete things.
Yeah, and it made it very difficult for me to teach and train and explain everything that I'm going through to help build this Givers University. And today I was able to do a training, no problems.
Great.
No hiccups, nothing whatsoever. I was like, oh, I do know what I'm talking about. I am the expert in the room. Thank you very much.
Love that. So funny enough, every time I do something like that I haven't done before, I have those moments.
Mm-hmm.
I have the moment of, I gotta do what, when, how, and then the limiting beliefs that roll up into that event, right? Like, I think the very first time I spoke on a stage, like a motivational stage, it was with Les Brown. I was in his class. Thankfully, we had like 3 months of coursework, right? Like, we're learning how to speak in front of people. But I remember my second class, the John Tallarico, who's going to be on our podcast very soon. So excited for him. He heard me ask a question in the first class, and then I did my first recording by the second class. And I entered the second class. He was like, "You're speaking on the stage, on Les's digital stage. That's 15,000 hits in one viewing." Okay, just one time, just like as soon as there's 15, I was like, "I'm doing what?" Thank you. Sure. I remember going through my speech 50 times, trying it 30 times, and then even having nightmares prior to the speech in the 2 hours prior to doing the speech. Talk about all the limiting beliefs that you could go through before you do the thing you've never done before. And then I did it. And now every time somebody asks me to speak on a non-religious stage, by the way, there's a reason for religious stages, that's a different story. But for a non-religious stage, if you put me in front of anyone, you just say, "Hey, could you speak for us?" Yeah, sure. No issue. How many people are going to be there? 300? Perfectly fine. I can get there. No problem. 15 grand in one sitting. That's a different story. But those are the things that everyone actually does. It happens to everybody once you're up leveling. and they're about
Yeah.
to take it to the next level, that they're being aligned. If you don't have those up levels, if you don't have the limiting belief trying to smack you in the face that you're not good enough, a good portion of the time you're not growing, because you have to win
True.
over that limiting belief that you're not good enough.
And it is extremely uncomfortable. And I know for part of me, because I've already presented this briefing before. I had presented it when we did the recording when we were both out of town, and I was hanging out in my mom's spare bedroom a couple weeks ago. You know, I had done the briefing that day, didn't have any problems. I've done presentations in front of my entire corporate office, no problems. It was the content finally registered in my brain that what I was talking about is a cultural shift that is going to raise the positivity level of this planet. And the fact that I'm a part of that just kind of went and surprised the crap out of me. Just like Les Brown created a culture shift.
He did. He very much did.
You know, so being a part of that, I can easily see having the same kind of gut reaction as to, am I good enough to be a part of this that somebody else has already accomplished? When no, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be here. Okay, good. Thank you for telling me. Yes, I am part of the Cool Kid Club. I greatly appreciate that.
It's great when all of a sudden you're just like, it's an identity check. It's like, yeah, it's like really one of those grounding experiences of like, anyone that tells you that, hey, I've done this before, I can do blah, 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 blah. You know, the like the laurels, like I've done this and that's why I'm so great. That doesn't work. Once you get to that stage, you can try and hold on to that belief before you get to that. It's not going to happen. Like that thing's going to go right out the window. That moment of like, I'm going to do something different shatters that entire ego trip.
And because there is something different. I realize there's something different every time you present or talk. I mean, every podcast we do is different. And I will admit, there's been 1 or 2 episodes I've gone back and listened to, and I'm like, who the hell is that girl in the unicorn horn? And who does she think she is? Because I don't have that kind of confidence. But apparently I do.
Yes, you do. Sometimes it takes a little bit for our memory to catch up with our change.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's because that's what reminds us and encourages us to continue with the change, to continue growing, to continue seeking out that higher consciousness, that growing, that mentor who sees to our core that we are able to accomplish fantastic things. We just need a swift kick in the tailbone to do it.
Yeah, 100%. I think there was this quote that I really loved when I was like 19 years old, and I still do, but you know, I've matured a little bit past it. The idea that like that once you get too comfortable, right, you kind of like die.
Yes.
It's like live on the edge of your comfort zone. If you become complacent, you're basically dead.
Yeah, there's a couple of really good ones. I've heard that once you stop learning, you start decaying. Once you stop growing, you start decaying.
That is true.
Which I think that one might have been Roy Rogers. I'd have to look it up to see for sure who did the quote on it. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's the, you know, for using the rubber band for an example, you know, stretch outside your comfort zone. If you take a rubber band and you stretch it and you keep it at that space for a while, you take out the supports, guess what? It doesn't shrink back because that is now your comfort zone. So you got to stretch it a little bit more. You got to keep expanding it. Keep that tension, because that tension is what fuels the fire for your creativity, for your learning, for seeking the answers for what you don't already know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so interesting that you said that, because, all right, so yesterday I had a moment of really uncomfortable discomfort.
Oh?
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. I was actually meeting a cousin that I've never met before. Well, I have met. I met him 2 years ago at the council that I created once upon a time for the Filipino, the Filipino American culture. I brought basically Filipino public figures, even the guy that played Rufio in Hook. Like,
Nice.
yes.
We like Rufio.
So I brought in a group of different types of artistic influencers to Washington, D.C. We raised $30,000 in 6 weeks. We did all the fun stuff, right? And then we were all recognized by the ambassador of the Philippines. And
Very cool.
thank you. And because of that, it was a really wonderful event. And then I have a really big family. If you hear the last name Dolagosa, Palma, Defensor, there's another one in there, probably Baldonado. But if you hear any of those names, they are my cousin. It's not
in some way, shape, or form.
not like Smith. It's actually like we are related. They are actually blood relation. And I met my cousin there. And because of that, I was getting I don't know why, but I was getting really nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually because there was an up level coming. And the up level actually turned out to be, he is now a politician, like a local politician in Harrisburg. His name is Frederick Palma Pelona. Yes. Frederick Palma Pelona. And he's running for office again. And then I described to him an initiative that I was building. And we're going to just say, dun, dun, dun. Leave that right there for everyone. And we can tell you more about the up levels soon. But till then, thank you so much for joining. And I appreciate you all listening. I hope you've nourished yourselves with this conversation. And just know that those limiting beliefs, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just scary to grow. That's all.
Yeah, it is. It's awkward and scary and nervous. And you know what? It's so nice when it's done.
Exactly. Your confidence, the new level, that new foundation that you're sitting on. Oh, it's like you can sit in peace.
Yes. So thank you, everyone.
Mwah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.